Today, I'm sitting down with someone who's done what most agents can only dream about. Imagine this: moving to a brand new city in 2020, no sphere, no network, no reputation, and then going on to close over $130 million in sales in just 20 months. That's not a typo. That's the real story of Soomin Kim. And he's not just the number one EXP agent in Texas 2 years running. He's also a husband, a father, and a self-proclaimed real estate ninja. And today we're going to unpack the exact strategies, systems, and the mindset that helped him go from zero to one of the top producers in the entire country. So if you've ever thought, I don't have a big enough sphere, I'm new to my market, or I just can't compete with the big names, stick around, because by the end of this interview, you're gonna have the playbook from one of the best in the game. So if you'd like our direct support, completely free, click the link in the description to book a private call with myself and Soomin, and let's talk about your goals, your challenges, and how we can take your business to the next level together. But without further ado, let's jump on into it. All right, guys, here he is, the man, not so much the myth, because he's available and ready for me. It's Soomin Kim, the number one agent in Texas. What's up, Soomin? Thanks so much for coming, man.
Man, I appreciate Alex. Appreciate being here, and man, happy to connect, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. But we'll just jump right into the tactical stuff. You landed in Austin, Texas from California. You were a transplant, California Exodus.
Mhm.
What did you do? What were the first three things you did to build your business to where it is now and gain that credibility instantly, almost instantly?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first thing, I don't know, as far as when I got to Texas, I didn't actually come here with the idea that I was going to do real estate, or be a real estate agent. It wasn't until I got here. At that time, I was still doing some things online, some e-commerce things. And it wasn't until I kind of saw the lay of the land and I got my adrenaline up to thought what I thought was kind of this vision of what real estate can look like here. Obviously coming from California, I came from a place that was kind of congested and crowded and really all developed to coming to an area where I thought I saw more opportunity, where development can still take place and expand. And so yeah, I got started. I did my exam prep, I took my exam, got licensed, and I started right away. But the thing I did was for me, Alex, is that I definitely wanted to go into things like as least ignorant as possible. Doesn't mean that I have everything figured out, but I at least knew, like, look, at the end of the day, I'm 46 now, so I wasn't like some 18 or 21-year-old where I'm like, hey, I just want the experience, get dressed up, want to just like be around people. I'm like, no, I want to be as productive as I can. So being a little bit older, I had to feel like I wanted to be as least ignorant. And one thing I knew about real estate is that everyone at one point thought about becoming a realtor, a real estate agent. There's an attraction and an appeal to it because you're dealing with things, even a small percentage of a high number tends to be a good commission. So there's that draw. So everyone's tried to become a realtor, been successful. Many have failed. So I wanted to really go into it being, look, I don't want to just be someone else that thinks they're going to make it and be a part of that really high failure rate. I want to know why. And so the first thing I did to answer your question, Alex, a long way to answer your question, but was I started on my marketing, I started on my branding, and I started on my ability to connect to who I believe was the clientele that I would serve. And I realized pretty quickly the clientele that I'm going to initially serve are going to be the same exact people that are following the trail to which I did myself, which was relocating from one state to another. And what that feels like financially, emotionally, spiritually, in every way. What does that feel like for someone? And if I can do that, I knew that I can carve out my niche. And so I started right away on just marketing myself, branding myself, but then sharing my story of someone that has relocated, not just from any state, as you know, Alex. It came from an area that's
Yeah.
highly attractive. Southern California, the Orange County area is considered to be very attractive globally. So how did someone leave something so perfect and beautiful and spend time in the ocean? And why did he get to Texas? And I thought that was intriguing enough that people would take to my story, maybe be able to relate to it. And it turns out that that's exactly what happened.
That's Dude, that's amazing. It's amazing story as always, every time I hear it. But let's, starting from zero, what was your lead generation? What did that look like? And, as we carry into that story, kind of how did you get your first, let's say, 10 clients and scale
Mhm.
to your 50 plus closings or however many you do this,
Yeah, yeah.
now?
So again, going back to my theme, because I think I want to stress that like I had a perspective that most people will fail. There's a high probability that I'm going to fail. So I'm going to do everything I can to be somewhat oppositional and be somewhat mindful of everything of what pitfalls people are falling into. It's almost like going into, for lack of a better analogy, like going into war and saying, okay, if most of the people jumping off this is gonna get shot, like what can I do to give myself the best chance not to get shot or to fall into that trench, you know? And so one thing that I did was as I was interviewing brokerages, I try to keep a tune of exactly what they're sharing with me because I'm hearing this with one broker to the next recruiter to the next team leader to and I'm it's under the caveat or under the common denominator of knowing that most people, 8 out of 10 individuals that get involved in real estate as a profession, are going to fail within their first 2 years. So I'm hearing this from every brokerage that I go to that interview. I said, look, I'm brand new. I don't have any experience. I have no training. What can you do for me? I'm new to this area. I don't have any sphere of influence. And as they started to respond to me, I took it to heart and I respected the people giving these answers. But after the fifth, sixth, and seventh, person's telling me essentially the same thing. Hey, you can stay in the office and pick up phone calls. We'll give you scripts, cold calling, door knocking, work open houses. And these weren't wrong things, but I realized if they're all telling me the same thing, there's a high likelihood that the probability of failure somehow aligns to the similar attributes and similar responses that everyone's telling me. And so before I even made my decision, I'm like, oh, look, I guess this is what it is. I just got to get started, get on the hamster wheel, and do everything I can not to fail. I found someone online. His name was Mike Sherrard, and his messaging was different. He said, look, if you're a real estate agent or want to become a realtor, you want to succeed, the greatest advantage that you can have is to utilize these type of strategies, right? Having to do with social media, having to do with video content, having to do with authenticity on camera, but also primarily utilizing a platform of YouTube. Heck, after 10 interviewing 10 brokerages that you can, not one of them mentioned that to me. So it wasn't until he said that to me where I reached out to him and his message was so different. His message was so oppositional to most of what I heard. And so he simply said, look, I'm going to train you in these areas, the way you can jump over anyone else, the way you can find your own niche, the way you can find and carve out your own market and your business is going to be doing these things. And so I trusted him. So I have a lot of credit that I gave him, but I executed on what he shared with me. I ended up joining or partnering with him in a cloud-based brokerage, and the rest is history. I followed his training. I started a YouTube channel. So again, a long way to answer your question, Alice, is that my initial onset of business and my initial clients all came from YouTube. 100% organic. And it wasn't just because I was showing some homes. It was actually because I preempted by sharing my story. I said, look, I'm not someone who's lived in Texas for 30 plus years or is a fifth generation or third generation Austinite. I'm someone that relocated here from a different state. This is my story. This is what I see. This is what I'm passionate about helping people that are looking to do the same thing that I did, right? And that happened to resonate. And as people started to reach out, they either DM me, found me on Instagram, they responded to a comment on my YouTube videos, or they just found my contact information via on the YouTube videos and they reached out to me, whether through email or text. And so I would say my initial 100 clients or contacts came from YouTube.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I think, as realtors, we have to invoke emotion to create connection to then ultimately get the people what they want.
Hmm.
But you said something about, all your clients coming to you. So let's kind of jump into like your conversion framework if we could, so
Sure.
people can understand that. What does your follow-up process look like to consistently get these leads into closings?
Yeah. So the way I'll respond to that is I realized a couple things. The genesis of my business, like in hindsight, was very unusual. Like I people always often ask me, "Hey, what's your system? What was that like?" And I'm creating one now, and I certainly have help and some support from admins that help me create, a pseudo system that works for me and my business. But in the beginning, I didn't have a chance to create all those. In other words, like, usually when you start anything new, you have so much time, right? You're organizing paperwork, you're going to go get all your supplies, and you're going to create a system. You're going to have your CRM mapped out. There's no one to put in there, but it's going to be perfectly ready for you to put someone in.
Yeah.
All these things are oftentimes things that you prepare for. I never really had time to prepare for those things. I started getting leads essentially within the first, second, or third week. And from there, it came in and I could not control and I could not respond. So it was so much guerrilla organization of just me with a pad and taking calls when they called me and just writing notes down and then having to follow up through emails. So initially, I just never had a chance to catch up. The first 2 or 3 years has been like a blur, and it was a lot of just doing everything I possibly can to keep up with people that were calling me. So they would call me or they would reach out to me. I would take all their information down, their notes on their criteria, everything they're looking for, and I would just uh, literally put it into my CRM, put it into a notebook, make as many different notes, symbols as possible.
Yeah.
That I started having abbreviations for things. If you looked at my notes, it almost felt like I was a soldier. Like you wouldn't even understand it. I had abbreviations for everything, which meant this city, that city, that city. I'd have like little symbols for how old they were or what I thought they were, family, no kids, dogs. Well, I would just have it was like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
that to say is it's highly unusual though, and I realized that how it got started. But initially they came through YouTube, and I would begin to serve those clients. And simultaneously serve clients, respond to them, help them find homes, meet with them, show them, and then in between all of that, I would put out additional content. So um, yeah, so I definitely relied on the organization of my CRM, but ultimately it wasn't, man. I was being thrown it's like almost like someone's throwing food at you and you're just trying to eat what you can, and
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the best agent at that time because of how urgent I had to be for every single person. I definitely gave it my heart to everyone, but it was a lot, it was a lot. Before that year ended, because I did a lot of new construction as well, I got a lot of new construction contracts. Before 2021 went into 2022, I had already amassed at approximately up to 90 contracts that haven't closed yet as we turn the year into the next year. So,
It's amazing.
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to look at it and be like, wow, it hasn't even come to the new year, but without doing anything, there's over 1 million GCI already plugged into this new year. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
That's
wild. Yeah, it
it's
was
the
wild.
power of imperfect action creates perfect action, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
think so. I mean, I would always say that too. I would just say, look, I executing is so much taking action, executing is so much more important than just preparing to prepare.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Analysis paralysis.
yeah, exactly.
Well, with all your success, you've become one of the top agents at EXP. You've earned icon status, ranking as the number one in Texas. So, how did you leverage EXP's tools? You kind of touched on it before with Mike Sherrard. EXP's tools, the culture, and the Wolfpack community, the group that we're a part of together. How did you leverage that to accelerate your growth or continue to accelerate your growth?
Yeah, I think my initial attraction, I was already attracted to, again, I was not like this young adult that's just getting their first job. Like I really came into here knowing that I need to produce for my family. I need to be productive. I'm not here necessarily to like rub shoulders and gain experience, which obviously we're always gaining experience. But if you know what I mean, I needed to come here and be productive as possible. So in choosing my brokerage, I also realized that there's advantageous things about certain brokerages, unique selling points. And the one thing that stood out for me kind of almost already was for EXP was the fact that coming from an entrepreneur background, let me take a step back. I'll tell you what I have always been discouraged with the real estate profession because I've had a lot of realtors around my life growing up and I've always watched them. And one thing that have always discouraged me is like, yes, I can tell if they sell some homes, there's money to be made, right? They have nice cars, they do well for themselves. But one thing I've realized is that they can never quit. There's no retirement
Mm,
and they're kind of living and dying based upon the seasons to which they are selling or not. And even in the later stages of their life, I realized they're still hustling like they were once they got started. So I realized they're achieving higher income when they're productive. Their lifestyle becomes a little bit more leveraged. Cars get nicer, homes get bigger. And now you're having to continue to sell just to keep up with that lifestyle. So there's an over leverage play, which you can't ever escape. And I've always said, like, man, I would love to get involved in real estate, but man, that grind and that rhythm does not look profitable for someone who values freedom and has an entrepreneurial mindset. So it wasn't until I was looking at all the brokerages and I started looking at splits and things, and I realized the number one purveyor for a brokerage to look good or not be good is often their agents. If their agents are rock stars and they're good at what they do and they're closing and they do it with integrity and they make an emphasis and a statement within a certain area and culture and city, then the brokerage looks good, right? In fact, people come to brokerages oftentimes not because there's a brochure or because there's a commercial or because of a name. They often come because of other agents that they're attracted to within the brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing I ask myself is which of these brokerages are providing their agents with more than just a commission in helping to grow that brokerage. And I realize franchise models don't allow that to happen. Most brick and mortars with the overhead that brokerages have aren't letting that happen. And I found EXP, a specific cloud-based brokerage that has a model and a business plan and the numbers that often benefit someone that is going to help their brokerage to grow. So I said that makes total sense because no matter where I go, I don't care if I go to Century 21, Remax, Compass, Berkshire Hathaway, it doesn't matter where I go. Wherever I go, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make you guys look good. And if someone asks me where I am, I'm going to attract them to wherever I'm at. I realized EXP was one of the only brokerages that was not only providing that, but providing that abundantly, right? Through different types of revenue share, stock
Right.
ownership, awards that are giving your cap back to you in stock. And I realized if you can play that game, which I would do in any other brokerage, again, work hard, attract people, close as many homes as I possibly can, there would be a light at the end of the tunnel that allows through revenue share for someone to gain freedom and to be able to no longer have a dependency on closed transactions any longer. That attracted me. So right then and there, as an entrepreneurial mindset and perspective, I said, look, I'm going to work hard for the next 5, 10, 20 years, wherever I'm at. But when that's done, Alex, I better be able to look back and see that there's something compounding or residual based upon those efforts. If it's just, hey, Soomin, we paid you that one time you closed, so we're good now. Let's go on to the next thing. Like that was enough for me. So I chose EXP based upon that. I chose Mike Sherrard and the Wolfpack based upon their ability to foresee and forecast how technique, strategy can supersede experience, right? Because if I, so long real estate has always been about, hey, if you've been around for 25 years, 30 years, you have the most transactions, you're always going to win all the business because you're the most experienced and have the most accolades. So I said that doesn't bode well for me as a brand new agent. So I need to overcompensate that and typically efficiency, modern strategy, and training. And that's what kind of Mike Sherrard and the Wolfpack offered. And when I got started with them, I realized that there are many experienced agents leaving other brokerages because they're not getting the training that's forward thinking and efficient and not understanding how to take and benefit and take advantage of these social media strategies starting to come here too. So as they all started coming here, it started forming like the Avengers, you know? So as I started getting on these Tuesday production calls and listening to people that are dominating in other aspects, whether it be traditional means of open houses, whether it be YouTube, whether it be TikTok, short form, long form, it was just a very forward thinking group that was constantly hedging each other off of their expertise to share with the rest, you know? And so
Right.
I felt like synergistically, like that was really combustible for me. I would go on there, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's killing it with YouTube. I need to learn everything that he's doing and the nuances, what he's doing. Man, she's killing it with TikTok. I want to learn the nuances of what's happening there. Man, this person is killing it with this type of marketing. And so once that was very synergistic, I was in an environment where I was probably learning more in 1 week than people in traditional environments would learn in 6 months, you know? And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's a compression of technique, it's a compression of expertise, you know? And it's a culture, right? If everyone is forward thinking, if everyone's thinking like what's more efficient, what is next, that speeds that rising tide brings all the ships up. You know what I mean? So I would
Love that.
say I chose EXP because it had the space and the future freedom for me. And I chose the Wolfpack because it provided the technique and a strategy to disrupt the market with production today and also be able to depend on the system and a culture to make me take advantage of everything that the brokerage has to offer.
Dude, that's yeah. I'm with you on all of that, 100%. And to kind of bring this whole thing home,
Mhm.
I know there's probably a lot of people watching that are going to have the question and like, how does he maintain the level that he's at? You know, being a husband, being a father,
Mhm.
maintaining a spiritual connection,
Mhm.
all of those things. How do
Mhm.
you? What is there a routine or something that you can offer to others, or something that you do that helps you sustain and kind of avoid the burnout?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to look different for everyone, Alex, but I think truly, especially speaking to those of you that are married, there's truly an understanding and kind of, for my wife and I, there's an understanding of, look, this is what the season that we're in. This is what is available, right? And this is what you need to go after and go get. And so it's like, I'm going to handle these things, knowing that you're going to go handle those things. And this is the season to which we're in, and it's going to be mutually beneficial, but mutually together with a goal in mind. If it was not for my wife that says, okay, look, I'm going to hold it down as being a homeschool parent, I'm going to hold it down, do these things, I would not have the guilt-free opportunity to go out there and produce as I've been able to produce. It doesn't mean I'm not home. Here's the one thing I've always said to my kids. I'm like, look, as much as your dad works, I'm home every day. You don't see me like leaving and come back at night. I'm home every day. I might be in and out a lot, but I want you to always remember I was always home.
Yeah.
And that to say, one thing you do have to do if you are in that space, whether you are the one that's out there, you're the hunter-gatherer going out there and taking on marketplace, or you're at home holding it down on some of the most important assets that you have, which is family and children. Um, there is there is there's a timeline, there's a timestamp for that. What I mean by that is you have to be productive within a reasonable amount of time, right? Or it's not going to work. If I was doing this for 2, 3, 4 years and I'm not bringing that home, then perhaps it would be prudent for my wife to be like, look, I don't know if this is working. So
Yeah.
it's not just like an endless amount of leash, but once that is productive, it becomes very synergistic and things work in a certain form. So you're right. I'll be open with you guys though. I want to be open with everyone on the channel. Like it's not 2021, 22, like those were, I can't even put into words how much I was working, like how hard it was. It was like, and I don't know, like, when people say, hey, I work hard, I don't know if it's all equal. Like, we all feel like we work hard. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think everyone feels like they work hard. The person working at a restaurant right now feels they work hard. A college student right now feels like they work hard. The single mother with 5 kids feels like she's working hard. So I understand that we all feel like we're working hard, but I want to preface like it was probably not as healthy. But what it's done is it's provided me a lot more freedom today. My business has gone from really primarily 90% buyers, 95% buyers. It's probably even itself out to probably more of a 75% listing side now. You can see the cycle of the marketing take shape. And
Yeah.
as people see, like, man, that guy's helped so many buyers. I need the psychology of him to now help me list them because he knows exactly what they're thinking and what they're looking for. And maybe, just maybe, the way he showed all those homes from builders and different homes, maybe he'll do that for my listing. So primarily, my business has shifted. And it's pretty remarkable that something that started off as lead generation simply on YouTube has now turned into my strongest marketing platform to gain listings and to out any other agent that is going after the same listing. I simply have more reach. I have a second mile where their first mile stops. And the organic reach that I've created from all of this, of what I learned from Mike and the Wolfpack, has allowed me to be a very prominent listing agent in a market that is so competitive. And for someone who's been doing this less than 5 years.
Dude, that's so, all of it is all fire.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think that your progression is inspiration to everybody. Your story is inspirational, but to wrap it up, I just want to say thanks for coming on here and sharing, taking the time out of your busy, busy day. I really appreciate it. I know everyone else does.
Mhm.
And you guys, if you want to connect with Soomin, all of his contact, like content and
Mhm.
YouTube and IG and stuff will all be down below.
Yeah.
And more importantly, working your tail off,
Mhm.
having the brokerage that we're at to be able to have an exit strategy.
Mhm.
If you guys are looking for that and you want to partner with Suman and myself and Mike Sherrard, everybody here at the Wolfpack, and join the community, there'll be a link down there which you can book a call with me, and maybe we can get Suman on and answer all your questions. But
Yeah.
again, Suman, thanks, man. I really appreciate you.
Heck yeah,
And
no, I appreciate Alex. And I just want to preface, like, man, I feel like there's such a continental shift in the opportunity for agents today. The same thing that happened when Netflix started coming out, Redbox started coming out, in the time when Blockbuster was really prominent. I think we're in that middle of that shift right now. And for every agent, if you're an agent out there, do not leave anything on the table. Your prime is right now. You're giving the very best for these brokerages, make sure you are going to get back what's yours, you know? And if you don't feel like that's happening, I would love an opportunity to share with you exactly kind of what I shared on this call of what is in it for you and what you're leaving on the table by not taking ownership and not taking shares and not taking revenue share with the brokerage you're at. So, anyways, Alex and I are pumped. We are here, man. We'd love to connect with as many of you as possible. So,
Right
I second that. So, let's get it.
on, man. Thank you.
Heck yeah.